came in. Would you read me the address on this envelope?
Robert Durst, floor 24, 67 Wall Street, New York, New York, 10005.
And who you sent it to?
Susan Berman, 1527 Benedict Canyon, Beverly Hills, California. Beverly spelled wrong, California, 90210. Which is the zip code that you want in Beverly Hills, but you just didn't want Susie's neighborhood.
So obviously I want to ask you about the cadaver note, the famous cadaver note. Can you read me the spelling of Beverly Hills?
Police, 1527 Benedict Canyon, cadaver. Same misspelling.
So Beverly is spelled the same way on this and the same way on this.
Same misspelling.
What does that say to you?
Well, I mean, the writing looks similar and the spelling is the same, so I can see the conclusion the cops would draw. Or the writing exemplar person would conclude they were both written by the same person.
Yeah, that's some odd behavior. Well, okay, I'll go first on this one. All his smooth and easy fluid movements have disappeared. His tick rate's going up a little bit. He gets quieter. His voice goes down just a little bit. And lots of head movement. And that indicates anxiety as well. And then, of course, like we're all laughing at, we see his gastric irritation grows. And that happens when you get bad news or your anxiety goes through the roof. That's, again, he's the master of in one way, of masking the stress he's going through if he didn't have the tics. But at the same time, on the inside, he's falling apart. His guts are just churning because he knows what's on the way and he's got to defend that. There's no way out of this. He can't excuse himself out of it. There's no way out of it. He's got to take this one head on.
To add to this, I think we're seeing an understanding and an awareness of what we might be thinking and an agreement and an alignment with that. I can totally understand how somebody might come to that conclusion. This facial covering that we see is very unusual for humans in normal conversation, but in particular for him. And the burping that we're seeing here is called psychogenic belching or supragastric belching. And this has a mental origin as opposed to a physical origin. And it is directly associated with acute stress or acute anxiety. If you want to look this up, the research on this, or some that I would recommend, is from Dr. Pamela Rutledge. She's the director of psychology research in Newport Beach, media psychology research. So all of this stuff spikes with the rapid, acute onset of anxiety or stress, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. I have very rarely seen videos of psychogenic belching in my career. I've read about it. This is a fantastic example that I will now add to my training library. Greg?
Yeah, so he starts off in this whole thing showing real interest, to your point, Mark, but he does it differently. When he was looking at pictures of himself, his head is down, the top of his head is exposed. That is the most accommodating move a human being can do. Think of Asian cultures where a bow is a greeting, and we show our empty hands. Asians show the top of their head. Those are submissive, giving your life to another person. He doesn't do that. Watch him. He leans in, but his head is this way. When he leans in, his head never bows so that you can see the top of his head, different from the first video, because he recognizes this as a threat. I'm also going to tell you, I notice his blink rate goes through the roof for the first time. Really, his blink rate is up. I think that whole gut thing, maybe it's evolutionarily, if we do that, people leave us alone. Who knows? Something in there causes him to do this burping thing, this belching thing. I think you're right, Chase. It's probably not under his control. The full-on face barrier, see no evil. I mean, that's the see no evil move, right? Nobody does that. I've rarely seen that in my life, and I've seen a lot of people get in trouble. When he gets to the point that he is doing this, the reason he's showing this fight or flight is he's not a guy who is externally stimulated to the point of real fight or flight. It's internal. He has to internalize it and feel the threat and know it's there before he responds. We know a group of people who do that. They have to have that fight or flight. And he probably fits in your favorite group, I would say, Scott, before I go much further. But then as you watch him, he gets to processor overload, I think is why he covers his face. He just can't take any more input because now he's starting to realize. Then when his hands come down, he does that bitter taste thing and his lips go to resolution. That's it. Resignation. I'm done. And I know what you're thinking. I think that's where the fight or flight comes from, and I think we're seeing a very different approach than we would from other people. Scott, to your point as well, his head's jerking and moving. I think we got this guy on the ropes now.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.